American Truck Simulator. One of the most, if not the most relaxing driving game that you can play. One that I come back to at least once a year for a couple of weeks or so, and it's right on about track for that year's time. And so I've been playing American Truck Sim for the past week or so, but I've been doing it a little bit different this time. I've dabbled in it in the past, but I've always wanted to know if you could really do this, if you could play American Truck Sim the old-fashioned way, like you've gone back 30 years or so to the 1980s. So, can you play American Truck Sim without the GPS? Alright, so we'll get our truck started and pull away here. I'm up in Bellingham, Washington, which is about as far north as you can go in ATS, and I'm right next to Interstate 5 there off to the left. But we'll pull through and drive through Bellingham. I think there's a couple places down the way we could pick up a load from. So, I've been playing American Truck Simulator here without a GPS for the past week or so, and I just got this truck, put just a little over 1,000 miles on it. It is the International, hopefully I get it right, 9900i, or 9900i. And one of the reasons I chose this truck is it doesn't have a GPS inside. You can absolutely turn off the GPS in trucks, and you can obviously not have one on your windscreen with a cell phone or anything like that. But this truck, at least in American Truck Sim, I think is the only one that comes without a GPS inside. Kind of a retro type truck, which I like a lot. Normally drive the Peterbilts and Kenworths and some of the mod trucks and stuff, but this one came out pretty recently as far as I can tell for American Truck Sim. Pretty much every time I play American Truck Sim, I'm starting a new profile. It's been, at least a year, and they do so many updates and expansions and things for this game. I usually just kind of wipe stuff clean and start over. And so this time I've centered myself in Washington, and my whole goal has been, can I play this game without a GPS successfully and actually have fun doing it? Because this game is obviously made to use the GPS and navigation, and there's no problem doing that. In fact, it's a lot more relaxing to do so, just follow the line. But that's what I find myself doing when I use the GPS. I'm just following the line everywhere, and it's fun at first, but I think that's why I usually only play this game for a week or two before I put it back down. It's going on the highways, doing these ultra long distance runs to try to make the most money possible. At least to me, it gets old kind of quick, or if that's all you're doing, can get kind of old. The world itself is the main attraction to these types of games. So Euro Truck Sim, American Truck Sim, exploring the different scenery and seeing the different cities and towns and landscapes. SCS, who make this game, continually raise the bar, I think, with the maps that they make, and we're just on the edge of Texas being released for it. But Washington here is definitely not the newest, but it's not the oldest region either, and it's a really beautiful state. It's a place I've visited a couple times in real life. So it's nice to experience it and really sink my teeth in. I've been limiting myself pretty much to Washington here as I've been playing this, which is one of my recommendations if you're going to go ahead and do American Truck Sim. Maybe I'll make a list of recommendations, but number one, not in the order of importance, is stick to a smaller area at first. Ooh, good. Thought that Jeep was going to pull out on me. If you stick to a smaller area, obviously you can learn some of the streets and the cities. It's not that you need to memorize everything, so I'll show you in a second. There's some great ways to find your way around, but can help with some of the trickier areas or familiarize yourself with different cities and things like that. So I've been just staying in Washington, and my plan is to start expanding to other states as I've finished exploring here or as I get a bit more money and things like that. But I've been having a lot of fun just doing somewhat local deliveries, so we'll see if we can find one that has us traverse maybe part of Washington that I haven't seen yet. Now, mods-wise, I don't have a lot going on. It's almost stock, but you will see I've got no HUD turned on, but I do have this nice little display in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's something I made with SimHub, just copying a few pieces out of some of the HUDs that are available. SimHub's becoming one of my favorite little tools for sim racing and sim games in general. Just customizing a HUD is really nice. So some of the things that you really don't get if you don't play with the HUD are the times that you need to rest or how long you have to deliver something. So that's what you're seeing in the bottom right. The white time that says 0 right now is how many hours I have left to deliver whatever I'm delivering in in-game time. And then below that is how many hours I have till I have to rest, which you can turn off, but it's fun to have to plan that out and get into weird situations with it. So I have those showing on the screen. I also have the tonnage that I'm pulling, which is none right now, and then the gear that I'm in. This truck, oddly enough, doesn't have a gear display by default, so got one of those on there. I think we have a 10-speed gearbox for this truck. Hopefully I can shift it correctly. I'm sure everybody will tell me if I'm not. But otherwise, I've got nothing on the screen, and we're purely going to use the signs as well as a little reconnaissance along the way to find our way to where we have to go. Alright, so we've arrived at a sell goods here, and I've got this trailer to pick up. And we're going to Yakima, Washington, which is not super far, at least in the game, from Bellingham, but in real life is pretty far. So I'll back onto my trailer here, and I've been using the realistic trailer coupling, which means I have to get the pin right in there. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It'll be right on the edge of the screen. But I've got the fifth wheel in the back, or the hitch, I don't know what you'd call it, and I gotta slide the pin right into it. I'm a little off center, but it'll be all right. And there we go, we get the truck hitched on. So not too bad. We'll put our parking brake on, lift the old legs on the trailer. So we're all hooked up to our trailer. So how do we find our way to Yakima from Bellingham? Well, of course there's an in-game map, but I stumbled upon an excellent printable map made by a user named SenseFM on the SCS forums for ATS, and I think they have a version for ETS2 as well. But this is a map that they've drawn that has the entirety currently of American Truck Simulator's map in it. All of the roads, all the minor roads, all of the dirt roads, pretty much every road that's not a city street is modeled in it. So this is basically a road atlas. Like you did in the old days, get out at the rest stop, spread the map on the hood of the car and try to figure out where you're going. So I've been using this to help me plot a route to where I want to go. So looking at the map, we're up in Bellingham currently, which is, again, as far north as we can go. So we need to go south and then a little bit east to get to Yakima. It's in the central part of the state, but all the way towards the south, towards Oregon. I think the easy route would be to take Interstate 5 south and hop on to 90. But I've never taken, what is that, Route 20? Highway 20? I'm not sure what it is, but I've never done that road that goes over to Omic, through past Diablo Lakes and a few other places. So I'm thinking to take the scenic route, which I think is what this is all about. Take the scenic route, hop on to 20 all the way over to 97, then hop on Route 97 south through Wenatchee, and continue on through there. The roads get kind of complicated down that way, but then down south I think it turns into 82 from some of my experience, but that'll bring us to Yakima. Now I do use the in-sim map a little bit for navigation, specifically for the cities. I haven't found similar maps that will actually let me navigate cities themselves. One setting you might want to change if you're really interested in doing this is in your gameplay settings here, show navigation, you can turn that on never. So you'll never see the actual route planner plan a route for you. The jobs in American Truck Sim are very lenient. You really don't have to concentrate on trying to make the most money that you possibly can. So it's kind of fun to just explore and take some of the pressure off. So I like to use that separate map to help plan the route or just get a general look at where I want to go. And it's also the map I'd bring up if I get lost and can't find my way. And trust me, you're gonna get lost. We might actually get lost at some point here today. But that's part of it. So anywhere I can find to pull over, then I'll pull out that map and try to figure out where I am without spoiling it on the in-sim map. But then I've been getting out a pen and paper and actually writing down a little bit of what I'm going to do in some kind of shorthand. So this is just to write some directions, especially for the beginning and the end of the trip through the cities, especially for longer journeys as well, so I can remember where I'm going. But we're up here in Bellingham at the Sell Goods, and we'll jump on 5 South, so I know how to get to the highway because I just passed under it. So we'll take 5 South to 20, and I'm going to guess that's 20 East. So we'll see signs for that, hopefully. It can be helpful to look for different locations as well. So I know 20 heads to Omek here. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So we'll probably see signs for 20 East or maybe 20 East to Omek. So it'd be helpful to notice the different city names. Something that is absent from ATS and the maps, even the printable map, are exit numbers or anything like that. So that's one of the bigger issues with using the maps, is you don't exactly know which exit it's going to be. But I know on Interstate 5, it's really going to be the first exit that we hit after we get on, and it's after a way station and a rest stop. But I'm excited to take this Highway 20. I think it looks like it's going to be quite the journey. But when we get to the end and get to 97, we'll be taking a right onto 97 South at Omek. And that's what will head us on down towards our final destination. Now, because I've been through here before, I know when we get to Wenatchee, we're going to have to hop on to 2 for a second, and the roads get really confusing. So I will say Wenatchee and take 2 west to 97 South again. I think there's signs for 97 the whole way, but this part, if I get lost somewhere, I think it'll be through here. So it looks like once we hop back on 97, that'll take us down to 90. So all right, that will take 90, and we want to go east. 90 goes all the way from Seattle to Boston. It's kind of wild to think you could take one highway the whole way across the country. It'd be cool one day in American Truck Sim to actually be able to do that. But we won't be on it long. We'll get to 82 South, straight on to Yakima. And it looks like we will want to take the first exit, so I'll write that, into town, and we'll pass. This is where things get the most complicated, but we'll pass Global Mills and then south on through the town, and we're ultimately looking for the rail export, which will be down on our right. All right, so we'll take our lights off and pull away here from the dock and get started on our epic journey. I'm excited to see this road because it looks like it's going to be some good scenery along the north there, I can imagine. We'll pull away. And it looks like there's an international dealer down there, so very fitting for this truck. I like this truck. I don't know anything about international trucks at all. I see them here and there, but it's kind of a fun one to drive, especially without the GPS and retro kind of look. I think it is a new truck though, despite the more retro type look. Try not to scrape my trailer there along the fence. Like I said in the map, that getting out and getting into places is definitely the most difficult part. So it's a good idea, like I did, to write a few directions, just so you know roughly where you're headed. But you do get oriented. I think I've got a fairly good sense of direction. So stuff like this is fun for me to try to test it. I can imagine this being really frustrating though for folks that don't really have a good sense of where you're headed all the time. But we'll come up here. So we're headed on to 5 South. That's our first direction. Should be the next left. We could take that all the way down, I think, to the southern part of the map. I think that goes all the way to Mexico if we wanted to. It's pretty easy with the highways, but it's fun to take some of the back roads and the routes and the dirt roads and stuff like that, which the GPS almost never routes you on, I find. I think there's settings for that. But you're kind of free to go where you want, and I've almost never had trouble meeting the delivery time unless I get lost along the way, which, like I said, will absolutely happen. But that's part of the journey, getting lost and then finding your way back by only using the paper map. That's my challenge to everybody out there. Only use that paper map, pull over at a rest station, and try to figure out your way back. It is so satisfying when you do actually hook back up with the road at some point. But we'll get moving. I do have a little mod to, you'll see the barriers there, like to the right. I like to play this. There's a mod that removes those, both visually as well as physically, so you can technically drive through. But those things are blocked off for a reason. The road doesn't really continue past there in most circumstances. And by removing the barriers, you absolutely will drive down those streets without a map. So I found it pretty essential to have the little barriers. But I found this mod that adds those little dots so that it's much less intrusive than the big X's. 4 low. Probably should split the gears here. It's only a 10 speed. Go back down to 3 high. only a 10 speed, so accelerating onto the freeway is pretty hard. Especially we got a 15.9 tons, which is not too bad. So give me the lane here. We'll come up and probably have to stop at the weigh station. Now I don't have a HUD on, so how do you see when the weigh stations are coming? Well, there's that little blue pass on the hood on the front windshield, which will light up either green or red depending on if we have to stop. Oh, and it's green because I'm making a video. We don't have to stop, so we'll be able to pass the weigh station. I'm sure we'll hit another one along our journey here. But yeah, just like that. I do have the immersive icons mod, which is another small mod that removes all the green floating icons. I'll try to put all the mods and things that I'm using in the description. There's not that many. You'll see the default companies that I'm using. So I don't have the real companies mod, which is actually a really nice one, but I do kind of like the default companies here. I'm pretty sure I might already be messing up our journey. I thought it was the first exit, but I don't see a sign for 20. Yeah, here's 20, so I almost messed up and got off the highway right away. Yeah, we want to take 20. We want to go east on 20, and there's our sign for Olmec. So the signs I've found are very good, at least in Washington. I can imagine back in California, where the first state that was made for this. Maybe they're not as good. I haven't tried it out yet, but they're actually quite good in Washington, and you can find your way pretty easily using them. But you definitely need to know where you want to go. You're not going to see a sign for somewhere on the other side of the world. All right, but we'll exit here. We'll get our sign for 20 east and 20 west. We'll be passing through North Cascades National Park. That's exactly what I'm hoping for, is that we get a nice scenic ride. This is actually a road I haven't been on. Like I said, I started a new profile with this, so I've definitely driven around these parts before in American Truck Sim, but it's been a long time, and definitely not like this, where I've actually had to concentrate on where I'm going and what the roads look like and all the towns. But I don't recall going on this road specifically, so we'll see how it goes. We'll have to stop at the light here. Try not to get caught by the police doing anything nefarious. I found to pay a lot more fines and things like that. It's pretty easy to miss a sign, miss a light. So this is not your way to make the most money the fastest by far. And I think it's something you can supplement too. You could absolutely do GPS sometimes and drive around without it other times. All right, we've got the Cascade Loop Scenic Highway in front of us. We'll see where this heads to. So we should be following 20 here all the way to Olmec, where we'll hop on 97 South. Try not to go too slow. But this truck definitely has a tough time pulling some of the heavier trailers. This one isn't too much. We're hauling some nuts, which I don't know what type of nuts they are. That's what it said we're hauling. So looking out into the world, I do way more driving this way. I think it's easy to get transfixed on the line on the GPS and miss some of the smaller details. And part of the getting lost isn't necessarily not finding your way, but if you see something interesting, you can pull over and see what that is. Maybe not as tempted to just follow the line and beat the time there. I know I see a lot of folks absolutely driving as fast as possible through ATS and running red lights, and I guess that's another way to play it that could be fun. But it's nice to just take it all in and not be in such a hurry, which maybe I'm not the best. Look at this river here. Maybe I'm not going to make the most money, but all right, we're jumping into a national park. Having driven around this area in real life, it's crazy how much they capture the feeling of being on these roads in these dense forests. The Pacific Northwest has some of, if not the most beautiful scenery in the United States. It's a really, really pretty part of the country. Very different than the East Coast, where the East Coast has rolling hills and it has a lot of forest, but everything just seems a lot bigger on the West Coast. Trees are taller, the mountains are taller, and they're very severe too. Right against the beaches, you'll find cliffs on the West Coast, whereas it's much flatter on the east side of the country. Alright, coming up to a little town. Try not to speed too much through the town here. Really beautiful place. We actually have North Cascades Visitor Center. We can't go down there. Some sort of power plant in front. There's a lot of dams. We got a closed bridge in front here. Interesting. Alright, we'll head on to 20 East, past Rocks, past Diablo. So Lake Diablo, on the printable map, they've drawn in all the different sites and locations that you can find. Probably gonna stall out on the hill here, shift down the gears. But all the different locations and things that you would be able to see are marked on the road, so it's a nice way to find things. I actually stumbled upon Mount St. Helens, which is not easy to get to in American Truck Sim. It's kind of off one of the highways, down a dirt road. You know, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere in real life too. But I guess the road, wow, look at this with a bridge with the grates. Would not want to drive over that in like a motorcycle or something. But Mount St. Helens in the game here, it'd be hard to find. You'd never drive there on purpose or for a delivery. I don't think there's anywhere to deliver over there. But I found this little dirt road and wondered where it went. And lo and behold, I ended up at Mount St. Helens, which was pretty neat to see. Neat that they modeled it. Down into 3 high and take a right here over the river. Try not to hit the guardrails. Nice big lake here, Gorge Lake. Some ski mountains, it looks like. Definitely been interested in doing some of the logging. I know they have a bunch of logging roads here in Washington and Oregon as well as Colorado. Try to make our way up the hill here without stalling out. It's such a steep one. This is where it would be better to have a higher powered truck at some point. We can get our old International up here. I did a stream in ATS about a year ago, which, like I said, is what I end up doing is like once a year play ATS, get into 2 high. Oh, we're almost gonna stall out. I put my hazards on. And in that stream, I was using the Mack Type R, which is not an official truck. We're missing our gear there. There we go. But the Mack Type R is not an official truck. It's a really nice mod though, which I didn't install this time around, but it's one of the trucks I end up going with quite often because it's a cool little truck. But talk about low power. That truck doesn't have many options for higher power. So you're pretty much like this the whole time when you're using it, but pretty accurate to at least what the designer was modeling with that one. Past Colonial Creek. Oh, we have a tree down over there. Interesting. Nice lake here. All right, here's the Diablo Lake. Wow. We got a car broken down here up on the left. We do have a mod for that as well. Daniel's random events or road events. Random events are built into ATS by default, but there's a pretty limited set of them. So somebody's gone and made a whole bunch of things that can happen on the road. Something I recommend turning off if you're going to do no GPS or limited navigational aids, we'll call it, is the detours. Detours are a feature in ATS which will block roads because of accidents and things like that. Definitely recommend turning that off if you're trying to find your way. I think in general, it's not something I recommend. All right, we're still headed to Omek. Always good to see signs along the way that remind you that you're on the right route. If you have detours on, even if you're using GPS, sometimes you have to go miles and miles out of the way because there's pretty limited roads to get to any one place. So that alone makes it quite tricky, but I've got those pretty much turned off. The random events are cool. That keeps things interesting. Two roads will never quite be the same. Pretty much have no traffic here. I probably have a line of cars behind me. Speed things up a little bit. I found in trucks, obviously the speed limits are for everybody, every type of car, and they're quite often too fast for what you would do in a truck, maybe realistically, on some roads. At some of these mountains as we climb yet another hill. Some really impressive rock formations and things out here. I mentioned Mount St. Helens, absolutely volcanic country. Lots of dormant volcanoes and things. It's what makes the crazy mountains in this part of the world. Coming over Washington Pass, and we got some signs for some steep terrain ahead. So we'll definitely need to use some engine braking down the other side. Nice clear view as we crest the mountain that we've been climbing. I got it set on the engine brake, which sounds a bit like a washing machine in this car, this truck. Helps balance the truck. I've been trying to learn a little bit more about how to actually drive correctly to keep the thing under control. It's really easy to fly down these mountains and end up wobbling all over the place. Coming through a horseshoe there. I think I saw that on the map, so we're probably about halfway down 20 here. We got another sign. So 64 miles to Omek. Those are in-sim miles. The scaling is really interesting in ATS. I'm so happy they made the scale bigger. Initially when ATS launched, I want to say it was 1/30th the size. So for every 1 mile in the game, you were going 30 in real life miles. And there's a car on the way past. I don't blame him. I'm going quite slow. I'm just enjoying the scenery, though, and making a little bit of money along the way. They expanded the map scale to be something like 1/20th or a little bit bigger than that, which is so good. I think the scale is pretty good for what they have. Finally have enough states to actually do some good distances. You can drive for a couple hours from one end to the other now. And it's only going to get bigger from there, but it's a tough balance. You don't want it to be too small so that you can't model all of the interesting things that are everywhere, but you also don't want it to be too big or else you'll never actually be able to finish it. Or doing stuff like this where we're driving halfway across a state would take so long. Pass another road there onto Omek. I know there's some mods out there which add a lot of additional places and things, but I'm quite happy with the default map now, and especially exploring it to this detail, trying to explore every single road and town in a state. There's a lot here. It's very, very impressive, and this isn't even the new stuff that they're coming out with. I know everybody is anticipating Texas. They've been working on it for forever, and I would have to say, on face value, I'm not sure Texas has quite as interesting terrain and things as Washington does, but it's just going to bring something else. Big cities, straight big highways, and of course lots and lots of distance, so just adds a little bit more that's going to keep it interesting for folks. I just spent money on something, no idea what, probably my loans. And we'll wrestle the International. So closing in on Omek, should be there quite shortly. Vineyard here on the right. A lot of vineyards in this part of the country. In California, as you go south as a whole, this looks like an industry that we could actually stop at. You can, of course, use the in-game, in-sim browser for companies and jobs and things like that. You can also just drive up to a company and see what they have, which I've been doing a little bit. And just stopping there and seeing what's available and letting that dictate where you drive to. It's so easy to actually make money in this game, and the money itself doesn't really matter. Once you hire a couple drivers and things, you just really don't have to worry about the money at all. So you can just focus on the driving and experiencing the world and stuff like that. I pass Sunshine Crops. Looks like it's picking up a little bit. Some houses and things. So our next direction, look at my notepad here, 97 south once we get to Omek. It should be right up here, I'd imagine. We're in a historical village now. A lot of really nice towns like this in Washington. It's refreshing. Every time I've ever played American Truck Sim, I'm always focused on the long distance. That's the way to level up your driver the quickest. All right, what do we have here? A sign up on the stoplight. Junction for 97 is to the right here. So this is a turn we didn't have written down. But I imagine if I went straight, we would have got ourselves turned around at some point. So we'll take a right here to get to the junction for 97. But every time I've played American Truck Sim, I've always been kind of concentrated on just trying to get my guy to level up so I have money and I can buy trucks and things. And so the easiest way to do that, you invest in the long distance perk and then start driving super long distances, which generally means just a lot of freeway driving. And you absolutely make a ton more money, like 10 times the amount of money that I'm going to make for something like this, but it's not quite as interesting, I've found, the driving itself. All right, here we go. So we want to go to Wenatchee to the right. Let's see if we got anybody coming. Doesn't look like it. We're just going to roll through the stop sign. There we go. Nice train depot here off to the left. SCS does an incredible job with their scenes and making it feel like a town. It's a miniature scale for everything, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic many times. I'm sure folks will argue with that, but it still represents where it's supposed to represent quite well, especially with the newer stuff. And they're redoing California a bit to make it match. All right, so we're going to Wenatchee, so I'll look back at my notes here. So we are on 97 South now. We'll try not to veer off the road, but 97 South, so we'll be going to Wenatchee and taking 2 west, although it might still be 97 South. That's where things get confusing there. So we'll see if we can navigate those crazy roads. I think it's going to turn into a bit of a desert. Eastern Washington, it goes from those crazy forests to very arid, dry. Oregon as well. Got a train that just appeared in front of us. But the eastern side of the state is so different once you get over the mountains. I think the mountains don't really let any of that moisture pass. So you get these really arid places. Oh, we got a plane taking off too. It's a little bit like an amusement park version of the United States, but it makes it a lot of fun to drive around in. So there's a lot to see. See if we can catch up and pass this train here. Going 55 now. It's a 10 speed. I don't want to rev it out too high. We're in top gear right now, 4 high. We should have enough speed to get by him. That or he's going to split away from us. We'll head over a bridge here. Ah, so cool. Now, this isn't for everybody, the trucking thing, but it is so relaxing. And if you're a sim racer, you probably have the gear. You don't need a steering wheel and things to use this, but if you do have those things, it's the perfect controls. I do have the head tracking hooked up with Track IR, which is how I'm looking around, which absolutely adds a lot. I've played it without it, and being able to freely look around helps so much with the parking and just general navigation. So I absolutely recommend that. I know a lot of folks play this in VR. I can imagine it being a really good VR game. But you will be driving for quite a long time. It's easy to sink many hours into this, so being in VR for many hours might not be the best. So I think Track IR is a nice way to play it. You can throw on a podcast or your favorite YouTube videos and just kind of listen to those, watch those in the background while you drive across the United States or Europe. I'd like to get, now that I've kind of figured out how to do this a bit in ATS, I kind of want to do it in Euro Truck as well to some extent, although because things are sometimes in other languages in Europe, I don't know how successful I'd be at navigating Europe without a GPS. Alright, coming up to a town here, we got another sign. Due west to Wenatchee, we just want to go straight. Got a gas station. Every time I pass a gas station, just look at my fuel, make sure we're good to go, but we are. Should have plenty of fuel to make it all the way to our destination. Alright, we're on 97 south, 2 west. Alright, so this is where stuff gets confusing. This is the same road. A lot of times that happens, that a road is technically 2 roads. Animated horse. I don't think I've seen that yet. I'm sure they're everywhere, but that's interesting. I've never seen one actually move more than just its head up and down. Alright, Wenatchee's to the right. Looks like we have to go right here. Alright. Stop at the lights. So in America, you can move after you've stopped to take a right as long as it's clear, at least in most states. I don't know how American Truck Sim does that. So I think there's a few states where you're not allowed to do that, but right on red, it's legal, at least where I live. Alright, so we're on a little bit of a highway now. I don't know if I've been through here yet. On this area. So the Columbia River, so this is the river that goes, I believe, all the way to Portland, Oregon. So we got Wenatchee, but we want to stay, alright, this is where we split away and we don't exactly go to Wenatchee, we go west, I believe. This could be my fatal mistake, but I'll bring you along with me if we end up going the wrong way. I'm looking at my notes there, so I think we want to stay on 97 south. We basically want to take that to the very end. Past a little town. So I guess this is where the truck headquarters is for Wenatchee. I'd imagine that's where we are. So we could buy that, put a truck in it. There's a bunch of industries and things to pick up. Got the Walbert, which is your Walmart stand-in. I do like, I mentioned the realistic companies. It is a good mod. I think it adds a lot of realism, but I don't love corporations and staring at all that all the time. So having the fictional ones in there, since it is kind of a Disney theme park approach to the United States, I don't know, it just adds some kind of character that I like. You don't have to worry about things getting out of date or anything like that. So I've got the default companies in. Well, who knows? Maybe I'll change that up at some point. We'll hop on this highway here. We got another way station coming up. I don't know if we'll be so lucky this time. Couple cars coming, but we should be able to sneak on the highway before they get here. There we go. So the red dot this time, you hear the beeping. So we got to pull over to the way station. And so this, we don't have the HUD, but you can still do everything that you'd need to do at the way station without the HUD. Come to a stop. You'll see a little white box on the ground, which is from that icons mod that I have. Just at the stop there's a little white box. So that's the icon for it. We'll stop where it says stop here and hit enter. And there we go. We are weighed and good to go. Alright, so we'll exit. Back onto the highway. Now we got to try to figure out where we need to go to get to Yakima, but I think we're going to start seeing signs for it. Right, we'll sneak up before this white SUV. I found the AI are much more nice to you if you have your blinker on. All right, I think we need to stay on 97 South, so hopefully this is the right way. Go off to the right here though, but I think 2 West heads on west back to Seattle. Getting a lot of traffic now in front. Alright, nobody coming there. We'll head to Ellensburg, which I think is the right way. But this is where you could pause and pull up that map. Still not use the GPS. You could pull it up and just look at the paper map, but I've been liking to save that only for when I actually get lost. Pull over at an actual rest stop or something. Or if you can actually print it out, that'd be quite cool. I don't actually have the big map printed out. Get it printed out, you could fold it to the right area that you're going to be driving in and have it on the seat next to you. I guess that would be the most realistic. It was always an issue when you would drive off the page of the map that you have, and you have to try to turn the page over. Or sometimes they sold road atlases as actual books that you would use. And so we'll rock it up the hill here. I'm in 3 high, revving it out just to get it up this hill. And so I expect this road, per my initial directions, I expect it's going to turn into 82 at some point. Get onto Highway 82. And that should bring us right to where we're headed to. First exit into Yakima. We'll see. I think we have to hop on 90 for a minute, just looking back at my notes there. We are headed south, so we're headed in the right direction at least, per my little compass. Alright, get to the top of the hill here. Nobody on my left. We got another steep descent. In 4 high. Is that a police? No, it looked like it. Can obviously get got for speeding. The fines and things, they're really not that expensive in the game, so I think that's why it's not such a big deal to break any of them. It's all for fun anyway, but it's neat to play it, realistically and give yourself some of these challenges to make it interesting. Really interesting terrain over here. Some trees still, but it's much more arid and dry. Getting to about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. You can see it on the dashboard there. It's funny to watch the time tick up. It's almost as if the minutes are seconds. And it's interesting how they've done it, because when you're on the highway or a road like this, it actually goes by much, much faster. When you get into a city or a town or you're parking, it ticks by much slower. All right, we're in Ellensburg, which I didn't write down, but I think we're still headed in the right direction, at least I hope. But they scaled it so that, if it takes you 10 minutes to park, you're not wasting hours of time. So you really don't have to worry about the time that much. All right, here we go. Yakima, first sign for it. To the right. Log truck in front. I do want to try the logging roads. I haven't tried too many of them yet, and I think Colorado's got the most, and Oregon. I've got the most of those. But maybe we'll need a new truck before then, because I don't think the old International here is going to cut it. Right, get up the gear. So I wrote we got to get onto 90 east for just a minute, and then we'll be jumping onto 97 south. So you can see there it's actually combined 97 south, 90 east, which is what I thought. All right, here's the big highway. The highway driving, not the most interesting part of ATS, I think. Or some people probably like it, but it gets a bit monotonous. It's these back roads that are a lot of fun. All right, freeway entrance. Really tight entrance here. They give a little extra pavement on the inside so you can swing your trailer around. All right, hopefully I have some room here to get on. Go. Alright, on the highway. So I think we're on 90 east just for a moment here. Look back at my directions. 90 east to 82 south. And then we're there. We gotta try to find our destination. Alright, here we go. 82 east, 97 to Yakima. 82 east. So I said south. That's my bad. So 82 must go east-west. I think it's even numbered highways go east-west, odd, or north-south. So, yeah, east. Definitely the way we want to go. So 82 east. Jump out up here. And then I said first exit off. Get us into town, and we got to pass. We should see, hopefully, right off the exit, Global Mills, and we're headed for the rail export, which is like the railway station, or the freight station, if you will. Right, 82 east. At least the highways out here have some elevation and things to them. You get over to Montana, which they added not too long ago, and it's some real flat roads going that way. It'll be interesting to see how they can spice up the Dakotas and Nebraska and places like that. Wow. I know this isn't the Grand Canyon, which is in the game, but that's pretty cool to see. Big canyon there. All right. Believe it's going to be the next exit. So it looked like it was the first one in the map earlier. All right, so we'll get off here for Yakima at the end of this bridge. We made it to the river at least. So we've definitely gotten close, but we'll see if I can figure out how to get to the rail export depot. Alright, so this is where the highway splits apart, but we want to go to Yakima, not Natchez, which is another town. So we'll stay straight. So I should be seeing a Global Mills, it's like a General Mills rip-off. I think I see it straight ahead, so we may have found our way. We should be able to just stay on this road, and it'll take us to our rail export depot. It's always a bit exciting when you get close and then you actually see your parking space to confirm that you've actually made it the whole way. Try not to celebrate too soon, but I have a good feeling about it. We're going to get cut off in front. Wouldn't be American Truck Sim with at least one of those. At least I didn't hit him. Looks like everybody there is trying to cut over lanes. Interesting. Alright, so we'll keep our eyes open for the rail depot. Some of these places are hidden pretty well. Seems like we're downtown. I'd imagine the rail depot to be kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but we can't go right here. The road's blocked off. They modeled just enough of these towns, these cities, to give you a feel for them. They are pretty small, so you can't get too lost. So we're past a few car places here, and I imagine it's going to be up here on the right, and I think I see a blue sign, which might be our sign. Once in a while they're tucked in a road, though. Ooh, it does look like we can go in there. That actually might be it. Here's rail export. All right, take a right here. Hopefully this is where we need to go. I think that other road could also go there. Take a wide entry, though. So we've made it to the rail export. Now we just need to find our parking spot, which can be one of the more difficult things, especially at a place like this. They are quite big. Now I do have it on the automatic parking selection. So normally when you pull into somewhere to park, you have to select where you'd want to park. But just to kind of speed things up a bit or give it some variety more, I have it pick for me. And so sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, and it looks like we might have got one that's a little bit harder. So there it is right on the left, those white lines. That's where I gotta put this trailer. So I gotta sneak it between two other trailers, but we'll come around and I guess I'll get to show off backing skills, which will be interesting. But we've made it. We found the parking spot, found the place. So all the way from Bellingham to Yakima. Not too bad. Nice little trip. All right, get it into second gear here. So I think I want to get close. Now, I'm definitely not a pro at backing in, but I do know we'd like to come from this direction rather than the other way, so that we can actually see where we're going. Other side, blindsiding would be really tricky. Sometimes you got to do it, though. All right. Put our hazards on. Look out the window here. See if we can get this thing to slot in. Gotta swing the end around. It is a long trailer, so we have to really turn it. There we go. All right, straighten it out a bit. So using the dev console, you can pop out of the truck to take a look at things. So I'm much too far over to the left, but I'll see if I can straighten things out and then pull it around, try to slot it in there. Pull forward a bit. Yeah, I'm like one space over, but it shouldn't be too bad to get it to slide in. All right, shift the wheel. Just don't want to hit the trailer that's behind me. Alright, straighten out my truck. Although I think I might have overcranked it. Alright, now we're on the blind side, which is a very hard way to get in. We can actually look through. It's a day cab, luckily, so we can just look through the glass here. Try to straighten things out. Actually, that's going to slot in quite nice. Alright, pull forward one more time. No shame in pulling forward to get things nice and straight. Alright, they give us one of the tricky ones for a video, of course, but not too bad. I'm a little off-centered, but it should be just enough. Right on the line. See it turn green. Put the car in park. And shut the truck off here. So thanks to folks like SenseFM for making an awesome map and some of the mods just to help you immerse yourself in the sim overall. I think it's very possible to drive American Truck Sim without a map, and I'd say it adds an extra challenge, but also a different way of looking at the world that SCS has created. So I hope you enjoyed this, something quite a lot different than my norm, but wanted to show folks what I've been up to between some of the different races, just relaxing, playing some Truck Sim, and finding my way around America the old-fashioned way. But thank you for watching. I'll be back with some more soon. This is GP Laps, and I'll see you all again next time.